Good afternoon, guys, or whatever time it is you're listening to this. Welcome. We're recording this afternoon. Welcome to our latest edition of Barks, Bites, and Behaviours. Today, I am joined by the amazing Hannah, founder, head vet of Canine Arthritis Management. Guys, if you haven't heard of Canine Arthritis Management, where have you been? What's been going on in your life? But Hannah, thank you so much for coming on to join me. It really is a pleasure.
My pleasure. I'm sorry that I look like a really bad version of myself, but I thought this was a podcast, not a
Well,
video.
I mean, we get everything out there. We want to see how amazing you are, not just hear how
Fine,
amazing you are.
totally. This is
This
normal.
is but this is as silly as it sounds. This is reality,
I think
and
we should
this
go back to
is
reality. I think we live in a very, very dystopian world at the moment.
we definitely do. But this is proof that you work exceptionally hard and you drive so many amazing things out there in the animal world. So it's nice to see reality, and I think that is
Thank you.
important. So, um, Hannah, let's get our listeners understanding a little bit more about you. Obviously, we've mentioned founder of Canine
Yeah.
Arthritis Management, head vet there. Tell us a bit more about you. What was your journey like into the animal world?
So like right at the beginning,
Let's
right
go
at the
right back. Yeah,
beginning,
let's give a whistle stop tour of the whole of Hannah.
I wanted to be an air hostess, mate. No, okay. In all reality, when young, I was very drawn to animals. Affinity for dogs, cats, horses, the typical domestic animals that close contact. But I still had passions for like art. I really wanted to be an art teacher. I dabbled with the idea of being an air hostess because they just look really cool. Thought about being an accountant. Quite glad I didn't do that. But the draw of being a vet always pulled. And I think they've got a pretty good filtering system to becoming a vet. It's pretty damn tough to get into. You have
Mhm.
to do so much, what we call like continual professional development, so much work experience and stuff, that it does kind of filter out those that are less keen. Um, so yeah, it was a bit of an arduous process to get into vet school. And then it's 6 years in vet school with exam term. So I was like from the traditional kind of exam term type structure where you do 2 terms and you can learn, party quite a lot. And then the final term was just barbaric. So 6 years of that. And then you get into practice and you feel like you know nothing. So you spend another like 3 to 5 years just trying to find your feet. But yeah, it's I guess it was always on the cards.
Yeah, I think you get these aspirations quite young, and then sometimes it takes you in a different path. And I think
Yeah,
for me, growing up, I remember about 13, 14, I had this massive aspiration to be a vet. That
yeah.
was deep ingrained in me. Um, me in the science world at that time, we just didn't get on.
You
The
weren't
whole,
mates.
I wasn't quite there. I wasn't ready for that 6 year commitment, like you said.
Yeah.
And I went off and I'd done some other things. And ironically, I worked in the travel industry. So whereas you had that air
You
hostess
stole my
element,
job.
I didn't steal it directly. So I worked at Thomas Cook for a period of time,
Did you?
and then went off and did a few sort of other jobs in the travel industry. And the whole animal thing came about for me completely by mistake. I
Yeah.
was never ever going back into animals, and I was working in a health and safety role.
Right. Right.
And yeah, long story, but my wife started a daycare business, grew really quickly,
Yeah.
and we had to make the decision that I had to be there to support her to make that business a success.
Yeah.
8.5 years down the line, here I am.
Right.
It's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's still going. So it's ironic that you've got those same sort of passions and that drive. So
I think if you I think if you got an affinity with animals and you see that they're actually more important than us, I think it's hard not to have a role in the animal-based industry.
yeah,
Challenging though. I think it's very challenging. I think the more you get involved in the ethics and welfare surrounding, animal care and animal ownership, I think it becomes more and more challenging.
yeah.
Luna, stop licking. Sorry. I'm sorry, she's just licking the floor. Stop being a weirdo.
Bless her. Mate. It's like you say, it is tough. It is
Mm.
tough, and there's lots of areas of that animal industry. There's lots of things that certain people believe in with response to ethics and how we ethically manage our beliefs and things like that. And it can be tough, and it can be tough emotionally on ourselves as humans as well.
Massively, massively. And there's a lot of people doing some really good work now regarding that. So Tamsin Durston, Andrew Hale, really bringing it to people's attention that, the whole burden of care is actually a big thing, and I've openly talked about having compassion fatigue on a number of occasions, and it's extremely debilitating. It catches you off guard. You start berating yourself for being weak, and it's a thing, when you care so strongly, you eventually will hit that wall where you have to go, I've got to change the way I do things. I cannot keep taking on everybody else's problems, and I'm not going to fix everything.
And it's difficult because that initial drive and that initial passion is you want to help everybody, but
Mm.
you do have to get to a stage where 100% right, you cannot save every dog. You cannot help every dog that's out there. And obviously, from your point of view, vet wise, every animal that's out there.
Yeah,
There's so much that we want to do, and you are right with that compassion fatigue. It hits you, and it hits
yeah,
you hard, and it's weird because sometimes you can feel it creeping up on you,
yeah,
and you almost know it's there, but out of the blue, it's like it hits you at 100 miles an hour, and you
yeah,
don't know when you're literally going to step off that cliff into it's coming, bang, it hits you,
yeah,
and it's so hard to
yeah, yeah, definitely.
recover from that at times. So I think, anyone that's listening out there, that if you are a industry professional, or if you are a dog owner, a pet owner, guys, give yourself some space, give yourself some time. Allow yourself to understand those feelings are natural as well, because it's really important that you care for you.
Yeah,
That's a really,
exactly.
really
No,
strong
I agree.
message. So obviously, becoming a vet was really, really exciting for you. You did the 6 years, you did absolutely everything there. Talk to us about how CAM came about, Canine Arthritis Management.
Um, so I'd been a vet for around about 10, 11 years by that point, and I'd worked in numerous roles. I'd worked up in Norfolk, Yorkshire, London, Brighton, Essex, loads and loads of different places, loads and loads of different practices. And I was just kind of going steady, I guess. I'd got enough skills and enough knowledge to not fear work, to still be enthralled by work, but I think I'd got a little bit of a life-work balance for once in my life. But then I guess I started questioning some of our practices, some of the things that we did. And when you just step back for a moment and go, I know we normally do this, but is it right?
Yeah.
Why is it okay? And I had a day where I put two dogs to sleep back to back in the clinic, and it was like the final catalyst of this is not right. In that both dogs were otherwise clinically well, but they couldn't walk anymore. And they'd been coming in for annual vaccines, but nothing had been detected that they were having problems with their mobility. And we all know that OA doesn't lead to them going off their legs in 24 hours. It's a really slow, horrendous decline. And I just kind of started thinking, well, this is really weird that we worm and we flea treat and we vaccinate, and all of these are preventative healthcare plans, but we can't seem to be able to prevent the onset of significant chronic pain that leads to lack of independent mobility, that lacks quality of life, that leads to euthanasia. So I think that was probably one of the big things of that. This doesn't add up. This doesn't make any sense. But there was a couple of things that happened at the same time. I ended up getting a condition where I lived with pain for about 3 months, and it was really like, oh my God, is this what it's like to live with this? And I had the experience of it affecting every domain of your life. It wasn't just pain when you used it, it was pain that was always there. It affected my sleep, my work. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to go and have fun. I didn't want to go and party. I couldn't do my sports, all of these things. And my world suddenly got really, really small. And I was like, God, is life worth living if this is what I've got to have for the rest of my life? And then also at the same time, I was really struggling with my own dog. Holly's mobility was declining, and I was ill-equipped to best manage it. And then finally, one of my dear friends who I worked with took her own life because of pain. And it kind of cemented all of those thoughts of we talk about quality of life for our pets and we talk about giving them the best life possible. And we talk about them having security and they're well fed and they get their needs met. Are we? Are we meeting their needs?
Yeah.
How many animals out there are living in pain? And that to them is their biggest problem. They're saying, hurt, really hurt. And we're failing to observe that and we're failing to do anything about it. So yeah, it was a bit of a dark place for quite a time, I won't lie, because then it grows because we were talking before we went live. At that point, I'd been dabbling with, being plant-based, and that kind of
Mm.
tipped me into being plant-based. And my wish to really protect the environment and protect the animals in the environment grew dramatically. And then I kind of started realizing humans are quite important too. So my love of caregivers and the fact that they're doing the best that they can. So it can become quite intense. And that whole compassion fatigue is something that I guess I have to try and be really mindful of because otherwise it's hugely overwhelming.
Yeah. It's a big thing. It is a big
Mm.
thing, but I certainly know from an industry professional point of view, canine arthritis management is just so incredible.
Oh, thank you.
What you guys and the team put out there is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So obviously I'm aware, lots of other people are aware, but Hannah, just tell us about what the end user benefits are. What can end users have a look at for CAM and also professionals that might be starting their journey into the dog training world? Tell us some of the highlights, the little unique points of CAM.
All right. Well, Cam was an accident. Cam wasn't supposed to happen. And Cam should be dead. Cam struggles all the time trying to just kind of feed the financial kind of burden that we have running multiple platforms and stuff. We're a team of we've got 4 or 5 full-time employees. It's about 5 part-time employees. Got about 50 volunteers. So it's quite huge now. So it's a
Hmm.
bit of a beast. But it started off as a Facebook page. It was a really just like an organic, more altruistic move where I'd been doing a mobile service. So I did it on the sly for a year. I didn't tell my boss. But after work, I was going to people's homes and doing consultations. And at first I didn't charge because I didn't really know what I was doing. But then I started kind of structuring a consultation and that's when the hashtag Your Dog More Years came from, because by giving clients more time, actually understanding the real context in which they live, understanding what their wishes, their wants, what their dog's needs were, being able to see the true presentation of pain in their own environment, not in the stressful kind of vet clinic, very quickly a kind of construct came together of a better chronic pain approach. And then that led, as I say, to this result where these people's dogs were living years longer, not months, years. Once you were actually really tailoring a pain management plan to their problem. And then I was really mindful though that this was taking me, an hour to get there. I'd be there for an hour and a half, an hour to get home, then I'd write the reports another hour. And I was like looking at this time investment going, this is like 5 hours a case. What can I do with that? Could I take the case and put it online and I could vicariously help other people? Is that a way to do it? So then I got permission from the caregivers to take photos and videos and summarize. And that's how Cam started. It was a Facebook page. And from there, because it went nuts, and I was really surprised actually. I was serving the Brighton area and I just thought that I might support some people in the Brighton area. It just went nuts. And suddenly it was like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 people watching. And you're like, oh God. So we built the website. Well, me and Holly built the website, and then it's kind of just kept expanding, expanding, expanding. So the take homes kind of going full circle is that there is something for everybody in there. And that's what we've been trying to do for years, is that being a first opinion practitioner, I meet a very broad array of people that have a one common factor. They love their pets, but I hope they do. But I can get people, like I was at work yesterday, and you can have OAPs that are literally struggling on their pension, and their dog is frail, it's wearing a little woolly jumper, they kind of struggle to bring it in, its teeth are going in all directions, its coat's falling out, but that person loves that dog. So what can I do to help them with that dog? But then you get people that are very high income, their dog's really well insured, it's 2 years old, it's a sporting dog, then they're gonna throw 5, 10 grand at them, you know. So you have a really broad audience with one common, overriding theme. They love their dogs. So we wanted to create a resource that we could support that huge audience. And that's probably been our biggest failing, is that when you don't target your market, you probably don't secure yourself and grow. But I didn't want to do that because we were talking earlier about what is success, and success isn't necessary finances to me. Success is actually reaching the mission that I set out to achieve, which was to help people look after their pets that they love. And that doesn't mean I can exclude anybody. So if you've got a short attention span and you know it, go and look at our social media. If you've got an average attention span, I'd dip into the member zone and start watching some of the expert interviews, look at the downloads and the resources. If you want to be spoon-fed because you really can't make any decisions for yourself and you're a bit worried about everything, then maybe use the Pain Vet service, which is a one-on-one consult. If you're intrigued to learn more because it's in your profession, then join the Chronic Pain Symposium and listen to 30 hours of lectures. So it's kind of hard to pin down a resource that everybody should go to. I think if you said, I've got a gun to your head, what one resource do you think would change the world? The suspicion of chronic pain diagram.
Mhm.
I think that is a really unifying tool. I think we can all live by that, in that we all, be you a dog trainer, a veterinary professional, the caregiver, our mutual goal is to try and identify pain in our pets so that we can attend to it and make their life worth living. And by using this tool where you're looking for indicators, be them behavioral indicators, postural indicators, physical indicators, or capability and gait indicators, we can all learn and we can all speak that language, and we can go, oh yeah, he does do that, and it does that, and it does that, and I've noticed that. Chronic pain could be under this. Let's look further. Let's see what we can do. And I think it's a unifying tool. So that would be the one if you had a gun to my head.
Excellent. I love that answer. There's so much honesty, so much truth, and I think just being open, being honest with our listeners, and really driving that. We don't always get things right in our business plans and how we want to attack it and how we want to achieve things and what are we doing to get to that end goal. There are lots of diversions. There's lots of moments we'll put that car into reverse and
Yeah.
we'll have to take a step back. So, guys, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, we're going really well, but we might have to change path with our animals, don't be afraid to do that because
Mm.
ultimately you're still advocating for your dog or
Yeah.
your whichever animal it is you've got. Making this a bit more generic because we've got Hannah as a vet on, but advocate for your animal. Be that person, but don't panic if it
Mm.
doesn't look like plain sailing. You know,
Well, that's chronic pain to a T.
yeah,
I think I think if I was to be really honest about it's not everybody's cup of tea because it's very grey. It's hard to navigate. Nothing comes with a promise. It requires a lot of teamwork. It requires a lot of communication. It requires a lot of like trial and error. And that's not just the animal world. Look at human chronic pain management. And I'll use my mother as an example. She's just gone through a period of quite intense back pain. So L5 nerve root compression. And she's tried gabapentin, horrible, made her eat loads. Amitriptyline made her feel really sad. She's tried different like sleep remedies. None of them have worked.
hmm
She's been to the doctor, she's been to the physio, and what's worked for her is walking up and down the swimming pool. Walking
yeah,
up and down. We go 5 times a week to get her moving. And she's now standing upright. She's not using sticks. She's sleeping through the night. But that is her story and that's her journey. Somebody else may be very different. And so chronic pain isn't prescriptive. And I think if you're that professional where you like protocols and prescriptions, it's probably not probably not for you. And if you're a caregiver expecting that professional to give you a prescription, sorry, loves, it's not, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
But chronic pain, you're always changing direction.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think my sympathy goes to your mum as well, because I've gone through massive back issues myself over the past 3 years, major spinal surgery, diagnosis of a lifelong spinal issue now. And I've tried, gabapentin, been there, done that, amitriptyline, lots of different drugs, and I'm still on my journey. And
Mm,
that started 3 years ago now, or 2.5 years ago with surgery, and I'm still on my journey
yeah.
to finding what works for me. And it is very, very different, and it's very fluid because what
Mm,
works for me at one point might not work a month down the line.
no.
So yeah, it's sympathies to your mum, and it's
No, and that's
horrible.
the thing is that I think like the more I learn about chronic pain, the more we're called Canine Arthritis Management for a reason. You can't fix it. We manage it, and we can't call ourselves canine arthritis treatment because treatment almost gives the impression that it's going to be resolved, it's going to go away. It really is about management, and chronic pain is about management, be you human, animal, or animal. So one of the things that we're trying to really work on at the moment is to grow that community in CAM because none of you are going to step off the train until the bitter end. You're always going to be trying to find your path. And you've got the added issue that your beloved friend can't verbalize. They can't describe what they're feeling. They can't tell you, oh yeah, actually that dose was much better than that dose. Or yeah, actually in the park when I ran around this dog and I played silly buggers, I feel a lot stiffer. I shouldn't have done that. When you manage your own pain, you can really fine tune and you can learn to pace and you can do like trigger avoidance. We don't have that. So if we can't get it right in humans and you've been, following your path for 3 years, we've got to be really kind of like mindful of what we're doing with animals. And I think, that's not all doom and gloom. It's just about managing people's expectations and then really encouraging this like team approach. So that's what Cam's trying to do as well as try and create a community so that caregivers don't fall into caregiver burden and they don't fall into caregiver distress because when you've got the animal that you love more than life in front of you and you can't work out what's working and what's not working, what to invest your energy in, etc., having other people around you that are going through the same, I think is really important. So we've got Holly's Army, which is a community group. It's about 19,000 caregivers in there at the moment. We're transferring everybody into our member zone. We're trying to get everybody to drift into the member zone because we can then really support them with digital tools and different learning journeys and different support measures. But I think that's what's really important. And I'm learning that a lot in doing a master's in human pain management, which is what I'm looking like death. Um, because the human world in pain management is far in advance of where we are in the vet sector. And they haven't solved it. They're far from solving it. They're just unearthing more and more categories of pain. They're unearthing more and more variables that influence your pain. But what they are also doing is coming up with constructs to manage. And one of the big things that they're realizing is that our medical support services are really just one dimension of support. We've got to look at peer-to-peer support. We've got to look at community care. We've got to look at self-efficacy because all of them together with the lead physician will help you on your pain journey. And it's fascinating. And they're getting evidence. They're actually doing large scale studies looking at big data of how does being socially supported influence your pain over the long term? And they're getting big data going, it's really important, it's really effective. So just imagine if we can harness that. How can we harness making the caregiver feel supported, feel competent, feel capable? And that will then have a knock-on effect on how they manage their pet, how they handle their pet, how they view their pet, what they do with their pet, which will then affect their pet's pain state. So I'm in deep into that bigger picture view rather than what can I do in that joint at that time. But yeah, I have to have an understanding of that as well with what I'm doing. But that global effect is I think where I'm being pulled really.
Yeah. And I think that's huge. And I think that we've touched upon in that little bit there, Hannah, about the groups, what you've got, and how you're trying to centralize it and make that easier. And I think the animal industry as a whole has been overtaken by social media, and there's Facebook groups, there's online TikTok videos, there's so much out there, guys. And I'll hold my hands up that when I got diagnosed with my issues, I did do Dr. Google, and that was
Hmm.
probably the worst mistake I have ever made in my life, because it just sent me down so many little windy roads of what if this, what if that, oh my goodness, it could be worse.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the clear takeaway of that little bit of our conversation so far, Hannah, to get to our listeners and our viewers, go to expert pages.
Mm,
Go to the expert pages. Hannah has spent so much of her life working on various different elements of learning structure and really creating these great communities. So, guys, if you are listening, head to an expert. Okay,
mm.
that's what we're here to do. As I say, Dr. Google and Vet Google is definitely not the place to start looking at things, especially in the
No.
world of AI at the moment.
Oh God,
It's,
yeah, you know.
my dog is limping, and AI comes back.
Oh,
It's like,
it's
oh my
so
goodness.
funny. There's good and bad to it, and it's interesting that you talked about the social media because Cam's been around since like 2014,
Mm,
2015 now, and social media's just gone bang, and everybody is trying to create their audience. Everybody's trying to create their followers, and more commonly because it's their business and they're looking to, create a stable income. Don't blame anybody. But it's becoming really tough, isn't it? And the marketing is becoming more and more out there, and people's promises and people's approaches are becoming more outlandish and misleading. And it is, I must admit, a bit worried about the way the world is going.
yeah,
But I think that's one of the reasons that the Chronic Pain Symposium, which is an offshoot of CAM, where we get to step away from just talking about arthritis, but we talk about dental pain, or, ocular pain, visceral pain. For me, it's really important that the Chronic Pain Symposium remains interdisciplinary so that we have community between the different like well, disciplines. So vets, veterinary nurses, physiotherapists, behaviorists, dog trainers, dog walkers, dog kennel owners, all of us come together and learn together because I don't want us to become siloed like we are. The one of the biggest problems that we have in medical care is that you get looked after by your cardiology team who don't talk to your back team, who don't talk to your urinary team. And that's obviously quite a big issue. So if we can stop becoming siloed and work together, I think that's better for the animals in our care.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a critical point, is build a support team around you.
Mm,
I think if you've got a great trainer and behaviorist, wonderful. If you've got a great vet, great, amazing stuff. Don't be afraid to bring those two people together.
hmm
It will genuinely help. So yeah, pull on the resources what you've got. Even if you've got them individual in your animal's life at the moment, do not be afraid to ask them to speak to one another.
mm.
Give permission to speak to, conversations between your trainer behaviorist and your vet. Those conversations will only help.
Yeah, I will manage people's expectations because
Yeah.
I'm locuming, so I'm working in clinics in and around the UK, and vets' time at the moment is just so short. So yesterday I was at work at 8:30 and I left at 8. 15-minute consults, worked through majority of my lunch break, worked through any break time, had a euthanasia with a cat that just didn't go well. So that actually was not 20 minutes, that was an hour and 20 minutes. You know, Vets are tired.
Yeah.
So when we're asking more of them, we've just got to make it really accessible and
Yeah.
we've got to make it approachable and kind. So think about how you request from them. Think about the report that you write. Make it bullet point, make it to the point. Be kind, don't be impatient, and vice versa. I'm not saying that vets should not do the same back,
Mm.
but I do see a lot of bad mouthing, bi-directional bad mouthing, and it's we're all having a bit of a tough time at the moment, aren't we? We're all working really, really hard. We've got to give each other space and bring kindness and work in that kind of empathetic, interdisciplinary manner.
Yeah, absolutely. That support has got to be there because,
Mm.
ultimately, what the owner wants for their animal is the very best. And ultimately, vets want that, trainers
Yep,
and behaviorists want that, but it is about going about that approach in the right manner.
yep,
It's not about shouting, it's not about demanding initially, it's about looking at it constructively.
yep.
And, how would that caregiver feel if the professional was very blunt, very precise, but not really taking into account their emotions either?
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, it's a very emotive subject in an animal, isn't it? They're there for a short part of your life,
Yep.
give you a load of happy days, they give you the odd sad day. With my dog, they give me a lot of grey hair days.
Hmm.
He's been a challenge, bless him. But that emotion does build up on us as human beings, and we are only human beings. Nobody in this world is perfect, and as we've said, there is a lot going on in the world right now which sits on top of one another with
Mm.
bad news stories, with various different things happening. So I think, yeah, a real strong message is be kind, be considerate, be compassionate, and you've talked about it very openly today, Hannah, and I think I really, really appreciate that, and I really respect it. But
The only thing I've
yeah,
got is be authentic, isn't it? When you look at the world, like I bridge so many different kind of domains in the animal world now. So I'm a vet, but I kind of dabble with the world of the specialists and the referral centers. I'm not
Mhm.
one, and I'm not an expert. I'm not a specialist, but I know their world and I know the first opinion world. But I also know some of the behavior world. I know the rehab world. I know the dog training world. And oh my God, if you it can be really lonely because you're always comparing yourself and what you don't know. And I spend a lot of time in my head going, fuck, I just don't know enough. Oh my God, am I ever going to be comfortable in my own skin? Because I just don't know enough. And then I think you go, it's not possible. It's not going to be possible. So all you can do is be authentic. All you can
Yeah,
do is be authentic and kind. And if you can do that, you're doing blinking well.
yeah,
And I think in the world that we're living in at the moment, where we've got so much misinformation, people are fraught with fear and worry and anxiety of what direction are we going. I think we've got to learn that the only thing that we can control is ourselves. And the only things that are really going to shape the world we live in is if we make these little microcosms of kindness, authenticity. And if you get those little cosms, they're like alveolar in a lung, and that lung is going to get bigger. So everybody looking after the little pockets of kindness and coalesce them, we're going to get a bigger and bigger structure. So that's my mindset.
love it, absolutely love it. So, listeners, if you're taking one thing away, take that kindness as well. That would be a really big
Yes.
thing. Um, Just want to touch on one more thing because obviously, we've known each other for a while now, and we follow your story a lot with Canine Arthritis Management. You have been traveling to some amazing parts of the world, and I think I saw you're off to Poland very soon. Did I see? Is that a new?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I get to travel and speak, which is really lovely because all due respect to my peers, I guess I'm a bit of a rogue guest because I'm not a specialist. A specialist in the veterinary sector means that you've generally left veterinary education, you've gone into practice, or you've gone into like a university setting and you've decided, right, I want to go down an academic-y kind of more high devoted pathway. So you then end up doing maybe 1 or 2 years of an internship, then you do say 3 or 4 years of a residency, and then you go in to being a European or American diploma holder, blah blah blah, blah. I haven't served my time, so to be invited to speak at these big events is a real kind of like, "Ooh, thanks." It does gives me a real opportunity to be real though, because probably 5% of animals go to referral setting, whereas 95% are seen in first opinion, and first opinion is very different to a textbook.
Mhm.
It's very different to how a case will pan out. It is guided by, an expert clinician that's got all those dedicated resources. So I do get an opportunity to go, this is what's happening on the ground. Um, but yeah, where have I been? I think last year I went to China about 3 times, America a few times. Europe's quite a lot. Going to, where am I going next? Going Poland, then we're going
Mhm.
to Berlin, possibly popping over to Portugal. I've got loads of plans. If anybody wants to invite me anywhere, I'm happy. Yeah, love it. Love a bit of traveling.
I think it's interesting because again with like the podcast and again we look at that data that we get as
Mm.
podcast producers and I think I've got clients listening in all over the world at the
Mm.
moment, Latin America, South America, Asia. So for me, yeah, 100%. If you want Hannah to travel somewhere, get in touch with
Yeah.
Hannah because not only does Hannah get to go to some amazing places, you guys get so much good from Hannah,
Oh, I've
and
got
I
quite a few lectures now.
yeah,
I've been doing it for quite a while.
and it's great to see. It is so good to see. If there's one place you could say, so I'm going to ask this two questions, Hannah. One place you've been, which was just categorically the most amazing place for you, not specifically maybe just for the work that you did out there, but one thing that you really loved, because again, that passion of being an air hostess in your earlier days would be
Mm.
great. And then one place you haven't been yet that you are desperate for someone to jump in and say, please let me come and speak.
That's the impossible question. Like, okay, so just literally the first thing that popped into my mind was Chengdu Bear Rescue, which I went to about a couple of years ago, courtesy of Animals Asia, which was really fab. And they were doing a pain symposium where they brought key opinion leaders from around China to one place for a number of pain people, experts, specialists, and me to come and do an hour presentation. And it was just phenomenal, you know. But it wasn't just the presentations, it was the being present in a place where people had completely wrecked their lives for what they believed in, So the vets and the nurses and the assistants that live at the rescue, and they're quite often there for 3, 4, 5 years, serving the needs of these bears. They've completely given up everything important to them, the kind of material world in which we live in, to devote attention to that. So that was phenomenal. And sticking by the ethics, it was a vegan center. So everything, I just found it just phenomenal that they were putting into practice what their mission and their beliefs were. And I met amazing people. And Heather Bacon actually said that I did a good lecture, and that always made me feel really bad because I love her. Um, where would I like to go? I'm desperate to go back to New Zealand and Australia again. I like it over there. But then there are so many places. At the moment, I'm trying to navigate getting over to see Dr. João Alves in Portugal. I love Portugal. And he's an amazing vet. And quite often I tie in going and working with vets in different countries. So I went over to Texas to see Dr. Michelle Broadhurst and work with her for a week down in, as I say, Texas. And then I popped up to Toronto to go work with my friend Danny. And then I went to see my pain friend Connie. So I like traveling and seeing friends and seeing how they work and learning from what they're doing. It's always a learning journey, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Every day is a school day still. It
Yeah,
really is. We
yeah.
learn something new every day, and I think that's amazing. Um, yeah, Hannah, it has been such a genuine pleasure to chat to
Thank you.
you, to have
Very
you on the
pleasure to be.
channel. Um, Guys, if you're not following Canine Arthritis Management, we will pop some links down. We'll make sure we pop the right links to drive you to the right areas of Canine Arthritis Management. We'll put the website link in. Um, just finally from me, before we finish this latest episode, huge thank you again. I know you are super busy, Hannah, so appreciate your time. Wishing you all the best for all your future travels, all your future endeavours, and things that you've got coming up, because I know there's a lot that you are doing at the moment. So, thank you for taking the time to speak to me. Really appreciate it,
No worries, my pleasure.
and I'm sure our
And
listeners will get a lot from this episode.
yeah, head to the member zone, guys. Like anybody that's a professional, who's trying to do further development, further education. We've interviewed experts pretty much on a weekly basis since 2017 when we started. And there is over 600 interviews with specialists and experts from around the world in the member zone. It's 35 quid for the year to join. So for a whole year, not month, year, it's £35. And then you can go and root around in there and you can find all the resources that you go, God, I wish my clients had access to this. I will also encourage them to join the member zone so that they can
Yes.
tap into this, this, and this. Because that was the model. That was the original model. Well, no, that was the halfway model. When I realized that I had huge bills to pay,
Yeah.
huge bills that I had to independently find the money for. But the idea is that we encourage you guys to advocate for your clients, to advocate for their pets, and for a very small sum, put them in a place where they can access all of these tools that have been created over the years to make the right decisions. So rather than going onto Google and seeing what they think about what supplement, go and listen to some lectures by experts. Instead of going to Google and saying, how should I exercise my dog with arthritis? Go into the CAN member zone and listen to some expert lectures. They're all there for the taking.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. And for £35, that's literally 7 or 8 coffees in a year now, isn't it? With where we are, that's
Yeah,
one night out for a meal that you might
yeah,
have to scrap to get expert advice
yeah.
from lots of specialists. Guys, that's it. We're going to wrap this one up today because Hannah is super busy, lots of work on the go. So, for this episode of Barks, Bites, and Behaviours, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, our final message, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, please give us a follow, please give us a like. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, share the message, what we're trying to get out to everyone. And again, thank you so much for your support.
Thank you for
Hannah,
having me.
thank you so much. Take care, everyone, and we will catch up with you very soon on another episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye.